This is Finland. And what if I told you that nearly 1 in 10 Finns are now jobless? The highest rate in 5 years. As of May 2025, Finland's unemployment rate reached a staggering 10.5%, compared to around 7% just 2 years ago. This rate is bad for any economy, but considering Finland's 5.6 million population, that's over 350,000 people out of work in a country once praised for full employment. At the same time, Finland's welfare infrastructure is now experiencing systemic overload. In 2024 alone, 250,000 households received basic social assistance, and Kela paid out a total amount of 825 million euros, a 95 million euro increase in just 1 year. Since the war in Ukraine, Finland took in roughly 43,000 refugees, and many of them rely on this stretched welfare system. In April 2024, only 7,200 out of 30,000 working-age Ukrainians were employed. The rest were claiming benefits. Economic crimes are rising, and financial offences climbed nearly 10% in 2024, with over 2,600 cases reported. Bankruptcies, benefit fraud, identity theft cases often linked to desperation and lack of job. It's not just individuals feeling the squeeze. Even the tax system is coming under pressure. In September 2024, Finland raised its standard VAT to 25.5%, and by January 2025, many essentials like food and medicines shifted from 10 to 14% rate. Those increases stacked on top of rising living costs, which have pushed many Finns to the brink. These are signs of a once solid welfare state fraying under pressure. So what's breaking in Finland? How did one of the world's wealthiest, most stable countries reach a point where living is feeling impossible? This is the hidden crisis of the world's happiest country. For decades, Finland was seen as the ultimate success story, a cold Nordic country that somehow built one of the world's most admired welfare states. It was clean, efficient, and humane. Free education, universal healthcare, strong labor rights, low corruption, and above all, a deep sense of trust in government and institutions. By the early 2000s, international rankings placed Finland at the top of almost every index. Best education system in the world, least child poverty, highest citizen satisfaction, and even world's happiest country, a title it has held 6 years in a row. About 20 years ago, Nokia was a major part of the country's economy. It made up 4% of Finland's entire GDP, dominated the stock market, and was responsible for 21% of all exports. The taxes Nokia paid helped support Finland's strong social services. But when smartphones took over the market, Nokia couldn't keep up, and its collapse caused big problems for Finland's economy, turning trade surpluses into deficits and starting a long period of slow growth. Today, the gap Nokia left behind in Finland's economy has not fully closed. But what happens when the system everyone admires starts falling apart? Today, many Finns are finding themselves trapped inside the very system that once protected them. Waiting months for mental health support, being told there's no doctor available for weeks, struggling to find housing even in small towns because the queue is months long. Once celebrated for eliminating homelessness, Finland is now watching housing assistance applications surge. In 2024 alone, a record high of over 125,000 households applied for general housing support from Kela. But this is not only delays and paperwork, it's about the core identity of Finland cracking under pressure. The question is, how did a country so well designed, with such high taxes, suddenly find itself unable to serve the people who paid into the system their whole lives? To answer that, we need to go deeper into costs, taxes, jobs, and the pressure from a world changing faster than Finland ever expected. For years, Finland was praised for being affordable, at least compared to its Nordic neighbours. You could live modestly, raise a family, and still have money for holidays, hobbies, or saving for the future. But Finland is disappearing fast. Let's start with the basics. Since the middle of 2024, grocery prices in Finland have surged by nearly 20%, pushing even middle-class families to discount stores or skipping meals to make ends meet. In the winter of 2023, thousands of Finns reported cutting back on heating entirely, just to survive, even in sub-zero temperatures. The Finnish government itself warned that 1 in 5 households was at risk of energy poverty. But perhaps the biggest shock came in September 2024, when Finland became the second in the EU with highest VAT after Hungary. For a country with already some of the highest consumer prices in Europe, that extra tax felt like a gut punch. It's not just inflation, it is structural because Finland is quietly taxing its citizens more to keep the system afloat. At the same time, real wages have stagnated. Many middle-income workers are earning the same they did 5 years ago, but now paying more for everything. A report from Statistics Finland showed that nearly 40% of Finns say they couldn't afford an unexpected €1,000 emergency. This isn't just a number on a government chart. It's the anxiety of choosing between paying rent or buying groceries. These rising prices are part of a chain reaction of higher taxes to fund growing welfare payouts. Those payouts driven by unemployment, housing issues, influx of new immigrants and refugees. People who've worked hard, paid their taxes, played by the rules, now find that surviving in Finland is not just hard, it's becoming impossible. Finland was once a model of full employment, a country where job security was the norm, not a privilege. But that reality has changed. Today, young people, recent graduates, and even skilled professionals in tech and engineering struggle to find stable jobs. When jobs are available, they're often short-term contracts or underpaid positions. Many foreign students with master's degrees or PhDs end up in cleaning, food delivery, or taxi driving instead of the corporate jobs they trained for. And this is not just a foreigner's problem. Finnish citizens, too, are facing the same issue. Finland's economy is not generating new industries fast enough to absorb its own talent pool. Despite ongoing rhetoric about labor shortages, highly educated foreigners who are trained in Finnish universities are quietly leaving. Over half of international graduates exit Finland within 3 years of graduating. At the same time, tens of thousands of Finns, including top talent, are also moving abroad. They're weary of stagnation, endless applications, and limited opportunities. Ironically, Finland needs workers. With an aging population, a strained pension system, and growing fiscal pressure, the country depends on new taxpayers. Yet, the very people who could help are foreign students eager to contribute also walking away. Thousands from Asia and Africa arrive on study permits every month, investing heavily in their education. But after graduation, many leave disappointed, realizing their degrees hold little promise in Finland. This is not just a job market issue, it's a crisis of broken promises and wasted potential. Imagine being jobless and still paying €1,200 a month for a tiny apartment in Helsinki. That's the reality for thousands. Finland's housing market is cracking under pressure. Rents are high, mortgages are rising. And for many, home ownership feels like a dream slipping further away. The average price of old apartments in Helsinki has dropped, but not enough to help because interest rates have soared, making monthly payments unaffordable even if the sticker price is lower. At the same time, over 100,000 households struggle with over-indebtedness. Loan defaults are up, and young adults are being locked out of the housing market entirely. Many now live in cramped, overpriced rentals, barely covering rent with unemployment benefits or low wages. Finland has space and buildings, but the system makes secure, affordable housing feel out of reach unless you are already rich. It's a trap. After the war in Ukraine began, Finland opened its doors, offering safety to thousands fleeing conflict. But behind the welcome signs, cracks in the system began to show. Many newcomers came with hopes of building a new life. Instead, they found themselves stuck in queues for jobs, housing, and benefits. Finding work has been far harder than promised. Meanwhile, the welfare system is under strain. It was never designed to absorb so many people so quickly, and now it's faltering. Not because refugees don't want to contribute, but because Finland simply wasn't ready. This is a policy failure, one that risks turning compassion into resentment. If Finland wants newcomers to integrate and thrive, it has to do more than open the door. In recent years, critical public services have been increasingly outsourced to private owners, often in the name of efficiency, but with consequences that are difficult to ignore. Let's use elder care as an example. Once the stronghold of municipalities, it has now become a lucrative business for private chains like Mehiläinen and Attendo. Reports have repeatedly surfaced of staffing shortages, neglect, and even safety violations in privately run care homes. In 2023, Finland implemented a sweeping social and healthcare reform, shifting responsibility from municipalities to 21 new well-being services counties. The aim was integration and equity. But with counties struggling under tight budgets, many have turned to private providers to fill essential roles, and the outcome is a growing two-tier system: public care that's slow and strained, and private options that are fast if you can pay. This shift is not limited to health. State-owned companies like Posti have been partially restructured, behaving more like profit-driven enterprises than public services. And while private players turn profits, public accountability diminishes. Even education, long seen as Finland's crown jewel, is not untouched. Universities increasingly rely on external funding, while vocational and polytechnic institutions face budget cuts, pushing them to operate like businesses. Behind all this is a slow, quiet shift in values. Unless this trend is stopped, the world's most admired welfare state may soon be just another customer in the global marketplace. On paper, Finland is still the world's happiest country, but that title is starting to feel more like a clever marketing slogan than a lived reality. Every year, the UN's World Happiness Report ranks countries based on factors like GDP per capita, life expectancy, generosity, and social support. And year after year, Finland tops the list. But many people don't feel like it's the happiest country in the world. According to the Finnish Institute for Health and Welfare, over 400,000 people in Finland use antidepressants. That is 1 in 10 people. In 2023, suicide claimed over 700 lives, a rate that hasn't improved in years. With all these challenges, you might wonder how Finland is still seen as one of the happiest countries? The answer lies in how happiness is measured. The rankings don't ask how people feel day to day. They ask how they rate their lives on a scale. It's more about long-term stability than short-term emotional well-being. The world sees Finland as a utopia, but beneath the snow-covered surface, a quiet crisis is unfolding. Finland is still safe, peaceful, and democratic. But beneath the global headlines about happiness lies a country facing silent strain. It's not that Finland is broken, but it's bending. This isn't irreversible. What Finland needs now is not denial, but political courage and social honesty to reform outdated systems, invest in inclusion, and stop biting off more than they can chew. The real measure of a happy country isn't just how it ranks, it's how it cares for those falling behind. I think if Finland wants to stay strong, it must stop resting on past praise and start facing its present. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode of this video. And what do you think about Finland's economy? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section